Hi everyone, thanks for joining me tonight. My name is Krista Clark. I'm a Stampin' Up! Independent demonstrator in Alberta, just outside of Calgary. I live in Chestermere, Alberta, and I'm originally from Nova Scotia, hence the name Scotian Stamper. So lately I've been just trying to do a few more Facebook Lives, and I've been putting them over onto my YouTube channel, just trying to reach out, and I know how much I enjoy watching other demonstrators do videos, so I thought I would give it a try as well. I've been showcasing some products in the Sale-A-Bration catalog. Sale-A-Bration is on until February 28th, 2021. And then there will be another Sale-A-Bration later this year as well with other new products from Stampin' Up! So tonight we're going to do a cute card using the Darling Donkeys stamp set. I saw this card on Pinterest by a demonstrator by the name of Elaine de Montmorency, and I just thought it was so cute I wanted to share it with you. So let's go. This is the project we'll be creating tonight. It's kind of a fun fold, nothing too fancy, but it's kind of different. And we're also using the free Sale-A-Bration paper, the Flowering Field. This is a 12 by 12 pack of paper that you can get for free with a $60 purchase right now. And the Darling Donkey stamp set you can get for free right now during Sale-A-Bration with a $60 purchase also. So this stamp set is red rubber, so it clings really well to our clear blocks. And this Flower and Field paper, as you can see, I've been using quite a bit of it here. It's beautiful. I just love it. There's a ton of colors that it coordinates with, and I've made some really cute projects that I'll be sharing later this week as well. So first up, we need to stamp our donkey, and we're going to be using some stamping blends. And when you're using blends, it's best if you can use the thick cardstock. It kind of absorbs some of the alcohol ink from the markers, and it prevents bleeding and outside of the lines. So our stamping blends come in a set of 2. They're $12 per color. So for example, this is Poppy Parade. You get a dark and a light. This is Granny Apple Green, Smoky Slate, and I've got light Crumb Cake, and I've got dark Petal Pink. So I'll be using most of these to do our card tonight. So when you're using the alcohol ink, you need to use a water-based ink, which is our Memento Black. So just ink your stamp up really well, and then stamp it onto your thick white. And then I like to just clean my stamps with my chamois. The chamois is really awesome. It's only, I think, $11 or $12, and you just wet it with regular tap water. It does get stained, but that doesn't transfer. It cleans your stamps really well, and as you can see, there's no ink left on it. You can rinse this just under the tap. Really cold water, if you give it a squeeze, seems to release some of the kind of blues and greens. If you use more warm water or fairly hot water, it will seem to release the more reds and oranges from your chamois for some reason. Some people I've heard even put it in the washing machine with some dark towels, of course. I've never tried that, but yeah. And again, if you can give it a try, and if it gets ruined, heck, you're only out like $11, so not bad at all. So I'm going to use the light Poppy. These have a smaller end and a thicker end. I tend to use the bullet tip end more. I'm just going to color in the little rose that the donkey has in his mouth. And I'm not going to use the dark because it's such a small little image. And I'll use the light Granny Apple Green. Now when you're using blends, you want to kind of think where a shadow might be. And often that will be kind of shown to you or pointed out to you by Stampin' Up. They put these little lines on the images in some places. And then also it would be kind of at the base of your picture or your stamped image. And you use the dark stamping blend in that location. I'm going to make his hooves dark, smoky slate as well. And his hair, or mane, I guess it would be. And again, I'm using the smaller end, the bullet tip of my marker. So close to his head, his ears might have more of a kind of a darker shadow under his chin. And then right there as well. So next I take my light smoky slate blend and I'm using my larger end right now just to kind of lay color down in a large area quickly. Now I'm going to go to my bullet end and color in the rest. You just want to lay the color on first. And then where the two meet, the light and the dark, you just kind of go over it a couple of times with your light blend. And that will kind of eliminate that line that you've created with your dark blend. So like right here, you just make kind of a circular motion and it blends that line out. So now you have kind of a graduation of the color. You can see here that line I put down is pretty much gone, but it is quite visible here because I haven't blended it yet. So I'll just go in and go over it a couple of times. Every time you put down color, it's going to darken your image. So where you want it to be lighter, definitely don't go over it too many times. Like on his ears here, you might not 100% get rid of that little line, but what you want to do is make it so it's more of a gradual, kind of like an ombre. So you can see here in his ears, you can't really see where I first laid down the dark and then stopped. It's got a nice gradual, you know, darker to lighter. So that looks pretty good. I'm going to color his muzzle and the inside of his ears with my dark petal pink. And again, I want the small end, just to give a little bit of a color there. It's such a small area, I'm not going to concern myself with trying to blend darker and lighter. Okay, so our little donkey's colored. I just noticed a spot on his tail that I missed. So we'll cut that out, and look what I have. I have the Baby Boss. It is so adorable and so lightweight. Like, look at that, one finger. I just love it. I do have the larger Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine as well, but I don't know. If you're thinking of getting one of these, I almost think you should get the mini. It's about half the price. About 80% of all of our dies will fit through here. This area is about 3.5 inches. However, not many of our embossing folders fit through. So, you know, obviously if you wanted to use this embossing folder, it's not going to fit. So you would need the larger machine to use a lot of our embossing folders and some of our large dies as well. But like I said, about 80% or more will fit through this mini, and it doesn't take up much room on your craft table. You get all of the plates that you need. The two darker ones are for embossing, and you get an instruction manual, of course. The ones that you'll use the most is this white platform, which they've labeled number 1. And it says, place die cutting edge down. So it shows you, it gives you the instructions right on this pad, or plate, I should say. And there's also illustrations. So, and it says, use with thin dies. So you just put it here. And then it shows in the diagram that you're going to put a plate with the number 2 on next, which is this. And then you put your die. So I'm going to cut my little donkey out, if I can just find where I laid my dies. It's probably under something. Yes, of course, the catalog. So these are the layering circles dies, and I think it's this one that I want. Let me just double check. Yes. We will be getting a magnetic plate for the small machine as well as the large. They had released them, but then found that there were some issues with some of the magnetic plates bowing. So they've pulled them off the market, and they're troubleshooting how they can resolve the issue. So this little donkey, I want him kind of to the left of my circle because I want to be able to put a sentiment on there. So I'm just going to put that where I think I should have it. I am going to cut off just the tip of his ear and the tip of a hoof, I believe, but the majority of them will be there. And there we go. Perfect. And now we also want a black scalloped circle to go in behind. And the scallop circles also come in the same package as the layering circles. You get both. They're in the annual catalog. It's this one that I want. So just place that on my cutting platform. And another clear plate on top, number 2, so your die is sandwiched in between the 2 clear plates. Sorry, my table, I guess, isn't very sturdy, so it's just shaking a bit. So there we go. And then when you're done using this little machine, the sides fold up to keep the dust out, and so it takes up even less space on your table. And the large Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine, they do that as well. So that's another awesome feature of them. So next up we need a card base. So this one is black. So this card, even though it's kind of a fancy fold, it's cut the same. It is just half a sheet of our 8.5 by 11 cardstock. So I'm going to cut it in half on the 11-inch side. So that's 5.5 inches. So I just look up here at the 5. and then go to the half. It's weird, in Canada normally we use kilometers and centimeters, but in card making we use inches, just like the States does. So that's great. I've cut that in half. Now to create this fold, instead of scoring it in half at 4 1/4, we're just going to score it at 1 1/4. Let me just double check my notes here. Yes, 1 1/4. So again, I'm measuring up here at 1 1/4. This light instrument here is my scoring blade, so I'm just going to score that, and then I'm going to score it at 5 1/2. So now I've got those score lines. It makes it easier to fold. And I'll just use my bone folder for that. Helps you give you a nice sharp crease and makes your card lay flat. Now we want some DSP on here, some designer series paper, and I've cut those ahead of time. I've got one piece that is 1 inch by 5 1/4, and that will go on the smaller flap. And then I've also got another piece that's 2 3/4 by 5 1/4. Now, as you can see, these line up perfectly. When I cut it, I cut my 2 3/4 inch piece first, and then I've got my 1 inch piece. So when your card is closed, you can see those flowers line up really nicely, which is, it's not necessary to do that, but it's nice to just kind of pay attention. Hi Sherry, thanks for joining me. So again, I'm just using our multi-purpose liquid glue and adhering this 1 inch strip on the right panel. Just trying to center it. I look at the top, the right, the bottom, and then the left to try and make sure my margins are equal. And then the left panel, same thing, trying to center it as best as I can. No card is going to be perfect, but if the recipient is that picky, then just don't send them any more cards. Now this little donkey, one thing I forgot to do is give him a little ground to stand on. It just looks better if you ground your images, so I'm just using my light crumb cake and just giving him a little ground to stand on so he's not floating in mid-air there. So now we're ready to adhere this to our black scallop. There we go. Just going to put that on flat. Oh, and we want to put our sentiment on, so I'm using the Hey There Friend, and we need our black ink again. And just right there. So remember not to adhere your black scallop all the way across, or else your card won't open up. So you just want to put adhesive on the larger flap so that the recipient can open your card. And we have dark black dimensionals. So I'll just kind of put a couple there and maybe one there. And then a couple more out here. The first time I made this card, of course, I put the dimensionals on the wrong side. So I've learned my lesson. I've put the dimensionals right on my card now. And there we go. Now we just need a panel for the inside, because this black, of course, is hard to write on. So we just need a piece of 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. This is a bit smaller, I think, so I'll go down to, 4 by 5 1/4 I want. Of course, I did cut a piece ahead of time, but things get buried. And I appreciate your patience. I'm just learning and starting to do these lives, so it's a learning curve, that's for sure. Now I'm just going to put a little piece of the designer series paper on the inside. You get so much of it, you might as well use it, right? So again, this panel is 4 by 5 1/4. So, and I think just a 1-inch strip is enough. So there's measurements up to 1 1/2 on this side of your track as well, which makes it easier for these smaller cuts. So 1 inch and then 5 1/4. And then just a little adhesive. It was a beautiful day here today. I think it was only 1 or so, but gosh, there wasn't a cloud in sight. Whoops, when I went out for a little walk on my afternoon coffee break, it was beautiful. Definitely like the sunshine. I know when I lived in Nova Scotia, it was cloudy a lot of the time, and that's one thing I like about being here in Alberta is we get so much sun. Oh, thanks, Sherry. Now, I don't know if you can see, but I have just a hair of white showing, and that's going to drive me crazy. So I'm just going to give that a little trim. This is an adhesive remover. Stampin' Up! Used to sell these. I'm not sure why they stopped selling them, because I know I certainly use mine a lot. I've actually seen them at, I don't know if it's Dollar Tree or Dollarama. So it's a must. It, you know, to have in your craft stash. It's really handy. So you don't need much adhesive. Again, you don't want those wiggly worms showing through. And we'll just adhere that to the inside of the card. There we go. Hey there, friend. Cute little donkey to send to somebody. And there's my original, after I had to recut my black scallop, of course. I made another card using another Sale-A-Bration set and another paper, but using the same design. This one is using a Touch of Ink stamp set, and the Paper Blooms, I believe it's called, DSP. And then I just put some little navy rhinestones. They're from the holiday rhinestones in the annual catalog. So exact same layout, just different stamps, and certainly you get a totally different look just changing up your paper and your stamps. So anyway, thank you very much for watching tonight, and I will be back here Friday night at the same time. Hope you can join me then. Bye bye.